see. And then let me go ahead and share the screen to everybody.
Okay, go ahead.
So, sharing the screen. So I'll close this. Okay. All right. So, your first question. So, we kind of covered some of this, but I'm going to go ahead and cover some of it tonight. But this is kind of where we're at. But I'm going to go back a little bit because there's some things that, like I told everybody, I said, well, if there's an event and if it's important, more important than class to get your connections and your networking, just go to that. So I was telling everybody kind of last minute I got an email from the conference that's coming up actually in a few weeks, to be quite honest. Go to that. Now, Floyd went, and I'm not sure who else went, but, you volunteer for stuff like that. Them tickets are around like $100 or $200. They're worth every penny. I'm not trying to discourage that. But if you could volunteer, then they pretty much, I think, is let you in. So I tell everybody, to heavily recommend it to try to attend that conference.
I didn't know we could volunteer.
Yeah, I sent an email out to everybody. I sent an email out to everybody. Let me find it real quick, and I'll resend it. But I believe you can volunteer. There's a volunteer meeting, so just give me a second here. And also, if you guys should go to Code Switch this weekend.
To where?
Code Switch. Surprised everybody hasn't seen it. I've been sending emails out to everybody. This is on the 21st on Saturday. So that same group I told you, Tequity, which used to be Blacks in Technology, it's like $10. And basically what they do is, you see they have a registration at 8, welcome and kickoff panel discussion, breakout room. So it's about code switching. 2-day civic hackathon where community members connect to co-create solutions that disrupt inequity. Code Switch is for everyone. Code Switch is for you. We are looking for techies and non-techies, from developers to entrepreneurs, artists, educators, business professionals, concerned citizens every day. It's $10, and I think you guys should register. So let me go ahead and put that on Slack again. I put this on Slack. I'm surprised nobody has responded, but this is it right here. Just go to this Eventbrite. So that's this weekend. I heavily recommend you guys to go. It's 2 days, $10. You're going to meet some people. You want to go to as many of these things as you can, especially those that have not yet found employment, because you get to meet people, Okay, now, going back to the original question, we probably got, if we're here, we got 1, 2, about 3 more classes. And if we need to have more, we can.
Oh, awesome.
Because
awesome.
Eventually what I'm going to do is I might get a study group together. This is what we do normally with every class. And what we do is we'll find somewhere, whether it be a library or wherever it be, we'll have a person that had recently took the test. Maybe it might be Angelina. And we'll ask them, could you guys get together for a study session? We'll designate a time, and you guys just go. And possibly, depending on how many people respond, Bill might bring you guys lunch. Now, I probably won't be there, but it'll be a study session for somebody that took the exam recently. So it probably would be one of my students or somebody that probably was in my class before, and then you guys will sit for about an hour or two with your laptops and go through every single thing on the exam. That might be a possibility, I'm not sure, but I just want to put that out there. So what we'll do today is I'll talk about some of the things that I got from the IT directors. I sent out an email to everybody. I don't know if you guys seen it, but
I've seen it.
You seen that? Okay. All right. So initially, quite a bit of announcements to make. For anybody that's not here yet, so far, Kevin Johnson has got a job with U.S. Bank. For everybody that's not here that'll watch this video tonight, Kevin Johnson got a position that I referred him to, a help desk position, I believe, for U.S. Bank. And Kamisha has what is your position, Kamisha, with Medtronic?
Support desktop specialist.
Support, okay. Support, okay, so desktop support.
Same thing I just did my previous job at Best Buy.
Same thing?
Yep, it's not the same as that thing like support desktop specialist. They probably might call it something else in the company, but yeah.
Yeah, support. They'll use all different types of analogies and stuff, but for the most part, you're going to be supporting people, or you might even be training people. I think you mentioned that before, Kamisha, right?
Yeah, she said something about,
something about training people?
She said,
Okay, so now what you could do with that, you could stick around there for some years, and you could get down and start, you might become a business system analyst or become a business analyst. So, you could kind of start your career out there, and you could stick around for 10 years or 15 or however long you want to go. That's a huge company, and they have a lot of room for growth. And
yeah, that's what she said. From what I've been hearing, it's a nice company to work for.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a place, like I said, a lot of times Medtronic, they demand that you have a bachelor's, because a lot of these companies, they want bragging rights to say that people have degrees there, and also the work employment place assumes that, well, this person went to school for yay amount of years, 4 years or whatnot, and they invested this much time, so I reckon that they'll stay. And a lot of people do. So that's the logic behind that. They figured that you invested this much time, well, if I can invest in you. So initially, I got a request. Well, first things first, let's review here. Okay, here's all the resumes. So I'm going to go through this again. But this is what Yoni says. He said, Kamisha's resume looks good. The only comment or question I have is whether I am assuming Kamisha is a lady, needs some info on objective if she's trying to transition into a network engineer role. If she is looking to manage or lead folks in that space, using her experience, it may help to indicate that. Okay, the next person, Floyd. Floyd may need little work on a resume. Great team worker is not a skill. Neither is reliable or hard worker. Those descriptions are more applicable to a summary or objective describing how those attributes may be used in fulfilling an objective. Is Floyd planning to apply for an IT-related job? If so, somewhere on the resume has to reflect exposure to IT, even if it is through the training is received. This may need some creativity in the objective. Perhaps something like, would like to use my recent training in XXX, validated by certifications in XXX, to contribute to a team using my leadership and XXX experience. As a hard worker and historically great team player, I believe I can engage effectively on a team. Being a quick learner, I am confident that I can provide value in a short period, a very short period. Okay, now the next person, Caesar, if he's listening or he'll hear tonight. Number 1, nice format. Number 2, was the last time worked in December 17. A 2-year work gap is long. Assume full-time student. Point is the gap will have to be discussed. Number 3, seems like 2 stints with Urban Ventures. The first stint, June 10. Does that have an end date? Does Caesar still work there? If so, that should be the first on the resume. Number 4, review formatting in the active health section. I think he said, or is it a creative health section? Or maybe that's the name of the job. Number 5, is best, the last section, the same as Best Buy. Number 6, I don't see anything that suggests a keen interest in IT. Something may need to be added to the objective section to account for that. All right, now for Gabrielle's resume. Not sure what this statement is trying to convey. Possess a high degree of originality, creativity, initiative requiring minimal supervision may look to rewording. A 4-page resume is really long. Have Gabrielle consider the following for summarizing a current role, and that is a summary of the role in 1 paragraph and key accomplishments in the 2nd paragraph. This may trim the resume down. Let me know if there's anything I could do to help. So now, Kenny has offered you guys a helping hand. This is one of the brothers at a Fortune 500 company. Pardon me for my late response. Mr. Oswald has done a great job reviewing your resumes. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have additional questions or concerns. I'll be happy to set up 30 minutes of a virtual meeting to share further resume insights or career advice if interested. You can email me at 612-968, well, I won't say the rest, but to set up a review session, typically available from 5 to 7 p.m. Now, do not take this lightly at all. You know, these guys are spending their valuable time to look at these resumes. They don't have to. They're doing it because they want to. So,
Right.
if I were you guys, I would take strong heed to this resume email request. You know, if you want to give them a call, you can. Once you revise some of your resume, you could actually send it back. And then, you know, if you need any, well, Kamisha, you're already in the game, but for those that have not got jobs right now, you know, like I said, this is something that is not a common occurrence, especially when it comes to training and certification programs. It's almost unheard of. You usually don't have directors at high levels that will come in, you know, and look at people's resume and offer their valuable time to spend in the evening, you know, giving you a call. So for anybody that is not yet on the line tonight, you know, if you need me to send it to you again, you should have the email already. But
I have it.
Okay, cool.
I have it too.
Now, I just got this in. Go ahead, Kevin. You were saying.
Yeah, so I had you guys on mute for a little bit and stuff. I had ordered something from Uber Eats and stuff. I was eating, so. All right, yeah.
Man.
I had some stuff from my burger and stuff, like a California burger, along with some jerk fries and some type of vegan type of drink or something.
Ooh.
I don't know why I said, man, something told me you was gonna order something jerk. I was just gonna say, is it jerk chicken or something? So yeah, that's cool, man. That sounds really good.
Yeah, this is the first burger I had like in 2 months, but yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, you know, that's the thing about burgers. You get a good burger, and if you ain't had no burger in a long time, it's really good.
Yeah.
Now this company here, go ahead.
But yeah, but other than that, I just been focused on eating very healthy stuff. Also like I pretty much we going through the book and stuff again right now. So I'm like on chapter 6 right now. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that's where I'm at.
Chapter 6. Yeah, it's not a big book. It gets a lot of information, and the way they kind of word it is, I mean, it's not super advanced, but it's thorough. You know, it's a thorough book. I mean, it pretty much gives you everything you probably would need in regards to the exam. That's why when you're doing those practice tests that I posted on Slack, some of those practice test questions are not completely parallel to the book. And you know, there's been people that pointed that out to me. You know, even the practice tests we used to buy weren't 100% parallel to the book. You know, so more than anything, I'm going to go into some exam tips. I might do that tonight. But this position, for anybody that's interested, doesn't say much about a degree for those that's unemployed now. But they do want some Windows 10 troubleshooting experience, PC troubleshooting experience. I'm trying to get the price on it. It's a 9-month contract in St. Paul. Now, for all I know, this might be with U.S. Bank. You know, a lot of times what I was telling everybody when it was just me and Caesar on the line is you'll have one recruiter that'll be recruiting for one position. Then you'll have another recruiter, you may have like 15 companies recruiting for this one position. And you look up and you say, well, they want to give us $15 an hour. And then you look up and there's another one says 20. And you're like, wait a minute. Why are they offering 15? Because a lot of times recruiters will try to beat each other. It's like a guy hustling on the street. Oh, well, man, I got this for 5. And the other one says 10. Well, if it's the same thing, people are going to go with the guy for 5. So he cuts the other guy. So that's kind of how it is in the recruitment game. You know, a recruiter will take a less cut, and then, of course, you'll get a lesser cut in order to get the contract if they have to. You know, bigger recruiting companies may have to get more because they got more people on their payroll, naturally. So, trying to think of what else came through. I had now this was sent by Paul. Paul came into the class, and within 2 weeks he knocked out the exam, and I found him a job at Excel Energy for like $35 an hour. he sent me this position. I'm not really interested in it though. It's 100% remote. That's nice. So if you want to work from home, but it looks like a system engineer position. It probably pays 40 an hour. I'm thinking maybe, but they want people with some Windows Server 2012, 2016, virtual infrastructure, cluster administrator, SQL database, 2 years with IBM-based tools, weekends, nights on call, ability to mentor junior level system admins. They would like you to have the MCSAs or the MCSEs, VMware, Security Plus. It might pay, well, it probably pays 80. It probably pays 80, I'm thinking. I mean, but look at all the stuff you got to know. PowerShell, I mentioned that before, This is for somebody that's probably been doing desktop support maybe 5 years plus, and they knocked out a bunch of these certifications, and they understand system administration from almost at a architectural level. Because you can see they got Active Directory, certificates, failovers, DNS, DHCP. You guys should be familiar with all of this already. DNS, group policy objects, VMware. So I wouldn't expect anybody coming out of this class to get this type of position. If you were to apply for this and you knew all this stuff by now, just on a slender, I'd probably ask you to start teaching me in a class. But that's a very expensive or a very, very well-paying position, and it looks like you could do it from home. ERP, electronic, I think retail planning, or what does ERP stand for? ERP positions usually pay very well. What they are is they're enterprise resource planning. So when you think of places like Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, SAP, it's pretty much like inventory management. A lot of these new positions are using a lot of cloud ERP software. So basically you're dealing with, let's say you're dealing with a farm or grain or Target. Any of these big giant places that's heavy in the retailers and products and sales likely have an ERP system. And this is a business analyst position out here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I don't know if I'd want to work out there, but go ahead.
A lot of I took in my MBA program. A lot of accountants using ERP business tools.
Yeah, that's true.
And they using it for CPAs using it also.
CPAs.
Mhm.
Now this is here, a couple hours, maybe an hour or so from Green Bay. I don't know if I'd want to work out there. Yeah, I'm good. Far, yeah. But see, this position probably pays, and see that's where they get now. This position, I believe I sent Kevin and a couple people to NTT Data. NTT Data is probably it's a managed service company. Let's go look them up for a little bit. But they got $100 billion of revenues. It says now they're probably a managed service company. Okay, global. Anytime you see something about global, they make a big buck. So the industries that they support, banking, manufacturing. I mean, so this company is probably a managed service company, as I say before, and they're probably contracting for some company out in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Now, looking at this, SQL, JDE, how it functions. You're a business analyst, so they want people to know SQL, and it probably pays 100, 85, 90, 100, maybe 110. I mean, it ain't no 60. You know what I'm saying? Like it probably pays very well. Contracting through NTT Data. So it looks like Caesar's coming on. So I get these all the time. So one thing I wanted to do too, we're gonna cover some of these. I'm gonna load up a Server 2016 instance, because the other one, remember that PKI key last time, that was in my old hard drive. I don't got that no more. Now I could just download another key. I don't really have to do much else. But I had a request from Gabby. I don't think he's here right now, but I'm just gonna go ahead and start up an AWS Management Console, and we'll kick that off. Also, last video, I'm not going to go through it because it was the last video I showed you guys, and you should subscribe to my channel. Caesar and I went through Mikogo, so that's another remote support piece of software similar to TeamViewer. I like TeamViewer a little better, but what I did is I remoted into my what do they call it? My phone. We'll get in a little bit of Salesforce. We'll talk about some of this stuff too. But anyway, let's begin. And if anybody wants to follow along, that's just fine. But like I said, I signed up for AWS, and they give you the 1-year tier eligible. I created a video and put that on Slack as well. But I signed up for that. And let me go here. Click on AWS. What's going on? Okay, EC2. I had a friend that was supposed to join earlier, but I think his computer crashed on him, so I'll send him the video. But this brother that took my class a couple months ago, and it's a close friend of mine. And maybe 3 years ago, he was working, I believe, in Enterprise or somewhere. And so then there was a company that Kevin has been at and worked before called A3, based down in Dallas, Texas, or Houston, Texas. And what they did is they contracted, as Caesar and I were talking about before, they contract where it's the recruiter, which is A3, makes a contract to CompuCom, and from CompuCom, go ahead.
CompuCom, that's actually how I got the job as U.S. Bank right now. It's through A3 so far, and the client contract so far is CompuCom with U.S. Bank.
Okay, so A3 to CompuCom, and CompuCom has a contract with U.S. Bank.
Yep.
Oh, yep, that's true. So my buddy went through A3, and then he got hired. He went through A3, and he was contracted through A3, so that's the person that writes the check. And he was contracted to CompuCom, which put him on another site. Now, CompuCom eventually hired him permanently. So he started working at CompuCom. A lot of times with CompuCom, they don't pay the greatest, but they have a lot of certification programs there. So now he's A+ certified. Now, mind you, all of the people that I run across that I've been kind of putting into the game, a lot of them don't have college degrees. He doesn't have a college degree, you see, but he's been in this game for 3 years. Now he's working on routing and switching up there because one of the Cisco engineers left, so he's doing some basic routing and switching stuff. And next time I'm going to see if he can come on to the class to talk about it. But anyway, I digress, but he was asking about moving forward. Okay, I'm in desktop support. I've been doing it for a while. Moving forward, how do I get to the next level? And I always tell people you want to start thinking about the cloud. And that's why I always emphasize talking about the cloud in the class. I talk about the cloud a lot because, at Microsoft Azure is they're catching up to AWS. Let me see if I can get me a little free Azure account. Let me just look at this real quick here. So if you look here, you see all of these different things. It's tons of them. I mean, you're not going to be able to learn all of this at one point in time. At one time. But, these are all the different services they have. This is probably the stuff that wasn't available ever on this planet at one point in time when they just had physical hard drives where everything's in the cloud. But we'll focus on this today. Now, Gabby, you're not here right now. I suggest that you take close heed as you requested. How do you get this set up? Now, this is in an installation on my physical system. This is in the browser, in the cloud. So like I told them, go to AWS, sign up for an account. You put your credit card in. A lot of people don't like to do that. But like I said in my book, if you give Netflix your card, you ought to give this your card for learning. So you launch the instance, and then what you want to choose. Now, if you know how to use SSH, or not SSH, but you know how to use PuTTY, be my guest, But what you want to do is, they got 2019. We want to use 2016, okay, the base. All right. Review and launch. Now, you see here that we got 1 vCPU and 1 gig. That's what you get under the free tier eligible. They give you up to 750 hours. So if you're not using your hard drive, I'll show you what to do for a long period of time. But you want to click launch. Now, that's my last key I had. So I'm just going to create a new key pair, and I'm going to just give it a name. And I'm going to call it Jerk Chicken, because that's what I'm thinking about right now. And then you want to download the key pair.
You're funny.
And then, okay, so then we go that. Okay, launch instance. So now we'll let that roll for a little bit. That'll take about 2-3 minutes. And so far, do we have any questions? Any questions about anything? Because any questions you have, I'm going to try to demonstrate it in the lab and what it looks like, if I can.
I don't.
Okay. While we're waiting, does anybody want to share about their current position or what they think their position is going to look like going in the door?
I can go ahead and share. Mine's is going to be actually at the big office in Mounds View. And I'll be actually doing face-to-face work. And he also mentioned something about they getting ready to start supporting conference. And I have experience with, setting up conference rooms and conference equipment or whatever. And that's basically it. And it's like I asked also about high priority. They don't have a priority. It's first come, first serve type of thing. We won't be doing any moving, if people need their machines moved, they have somebody to actually move stuff like that. And they also have a call center, a large help desk call center, which is first tier.
Thank God you ain't in that. That's a pain.
Right. Yeah, where they just exactly all on the phone the whole time.
Yeah,
so
you
I'm
don't.
Not that.
Mm.
So actually, I'm looking to try to just get on permanent after the 6 months.
Oh, it's a 6-month contract to hire?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Medtronic, I've noticed that they've been doing that a lot, rather than, try before you buy. See if you like it, see if they like you.
Yeah.
A lot of companies contract because it's cheaper, like I told Caesar before, if he could hear me. I seen Caesar online. They don't have to pay 401k. They don't have to pay benefits. They don't have to worry about onboarding costs. Because, see, when you're on board, that's a company cost. They charge that to a department. These large corporate enterprises, they got like separate departments. Some people wouldn't know that, but if you ever see something that you want, such as a mouse, accessory, a peripheral, or a monitor, when you say, well, I want this special Bluetooth, this, and, because sometimes when you get in permanent positions, they want to make things look good and attractive until you get in the door and see what's really going on. But, they'll order little nice tidbits and trinkets for you, and it'll say a billing code because they bill whatever they order for you to that department. So, and that's how they monetize everything. They look and say, okay, what was spent in this department? Is this against the company budget for this department? So they like to try before they buy, and sometimes that's good. In that case, this should be done by now. It's still launching. Let's look at the view log. Oh, it's successful. It's complete. That was that quick. So they call these instances, these virtual machines. You notice I had an old instance before, so now what I'll do is I'll get Windows password. Jerk Chicken was the key pair, so we'll go find that path. Okay. Decrypt password. Decryption. Okay. So I'll copy that. Open up Notepad. Okay. Control V. And they will download or connect by downloading remote RDP. And everybody should know RDP port is what? 3389.
Told you I need to study.
Let's pull this up. Common ports. RDP should be 3389. Now, what you're probably going to see, you're definitely going to see this on the test. Kerberos port 88. I can never forget that because I had a horrible. One thing is sometimes you'll be at a job and it'll be something that'll stick into you that'll never forget because it was such a pain in the ass. And certain things it's like riding a bike. You're just not gonna forget unless you get amnesia or you've been involved in something traumatic. You just ain't gonna forget it. LDAP is probably gonna be on there. You probably may not see this, but a story. I was working at a Citrix virtualization company, and what we had is we monitored their routers and their switches, primarily their switches. And I will always see something that will be a SNMP alert because there was a small little blip in the network where this switch will just lose connectivity just for a few seconds, like barely any, but it set off an alert. I call that a benign alert. But if you go here and type in SMP OID, it was always, what is a SNMP OID? Well, it's an object identifier that defines each thing for the manager and agents. You see? So, OIDs are basically identifiers of whatever that alert may be. This is the logic here. I'll look for this number because that's what I got from the alert. Now, this isn't something the help desk would be dealing with at all. Most server infrastructure engineers and system administrators might mess with this. And all it's saying is that something didn't communicate. That's all. You're not going to go in there and say, oh, well, what is the 1362121? No, you're not really going to do that. But if you look right here, the children, okay, which would be, and this is not on the exam at all, but just as an example, this is the number that switch alert might give because something such as UDP, BGP, USPF, that's a Cisco term. If any of these protocols may have had an issue on that switch for some reason, whatever the reason is, it might send an email or an alert, if it's being monitored, that is, with the OID of the following. Now, you're not never going to remember this. I mean, I don't even know if Einstein can remember all of this. But I'm just saying, these are, you see how many different OIDs, and that's the story on SNMP. So when you think of this, it runs on port 161. Just think that, it's simple network management protocol. So it's just an alert. It's called a trap alert. That's what it's called. It's a trap alert for, when you're monitoring a company switch. If you're a managed service company and say, all right, we do work for Medtronic, we do work for 3M, we do work for so-and-so, and we're going to monitor your servers, we're going to monitor your switches, we might even monitor your desktops. This is VPN, layer 2 protocol, aka IPsec, whatever you want to call it, runs on port 1701. So you're probably going to see this on the test a lot. You might see this. I think you'll see LDAP. You probably won't see this. IMAP you might see. POP 110, just think of POP, when you say POP 3110, incoming mail, that's going to be on the test. Kerberos is probably going to be on the test. This is for sure going to be on the test. HTTP, port 80. Always remember the HTTPS, which is used every day. We don't use this anymore because it's insecure. Port 443 is HTTPS, aka TLS if you want to call it that. So everybody has this, so just try to remember that stuff because that's all it is, you're remembering it. Going back to the instance here, I'm just going to go ahead. Okay, I already used RDP, right? Okay, click connect. Control V, okay. Click yes. I'm not going to give this a static IP. And the reason is, I told you guys before that, if you give it a static IP, and I start messing around with the IPs right now, it might just kick me off our RDP. So I don't want to mess around with that. Now, after you shut down your server, if you're not going to use it for a while, just go ahead and stop it. Like, you know, if you're running, like, for example, let's say you're playing with it, you're playing with your server here, and you're not going to use it overnight, I'd say stop it, because that will continue. That'll basically, your hours will kind of be going. There's no reason to have it run overnight. And if you're not going to use it for like 3 weeks on end, just terminate it. And just, you know, you can start a new instance. You can launch a new instance. And like I said, if it's weeks and weeks on end, you're not going to use it. You want to go to volume. And after it's shut down, you want to detach the volume. Now notice this. I'm probably running out of time, or not time, but I got 2 in use. Now, I shouldn't have this in use, so I'm going to get rid of this one here. So I'm going to detach this volume because I'm not using this anymore. There's no reason for me to have this volume. See, now, I didn't really want to get into this, but I think it's important that we bring this in context so I'm not just babbling. When you think of volume, you're thinking of a hard drive. But we're not talking about a physical hard drive. We're talking about the cloud, right? These right here are considered to be 2 different hard drives. They're sitting somewhere in a big data center. We don't know where this is at, but we know that it's 30 gigs, and we know that it's running at 100 IOPS per second. What is an IOP? They don't say RPMs. Remember the old hard drives, the magnetic hard drives? Okay? Old hard drives, the ones that's probably in an old desktop you got, or some of the laptops you may have, they say, well, 5,000 RPM, 10,000 RPM. That means it's spinning around 5,000 to 10,000 times per minute. RPM, rotation per minute. Well, when you're talking about the cloud, you're not dealing with so-called RPM. You're dealing with input-output operations per second, which is IOPS. That's how they base solid-state drives. Now, it's saying it's a common performance measurement used to benchmark computer storage devices like hard drives and solid-states and storage area networks. As with any benchmark, IOPS numbers published by storage device manufacturers do not guarantee real-world application performance. So, for example, let's say you're in a studio or something, and you working with, I don't know, Mary J. Blige or Yo Gotti or whoever, and you say, well, I want a high-performance hard drive using Pro Tools or whatever recording measure that you want to use. Well, 9 times out of 10, you're dealing with some platinum artists. You don't want to come in there with no rinky-dinky Sanford & Son hard drive. You're going to want to come in there with a large solid-state hard drive. When you buy it, you're going to say, how many IOPS is that? If it's more IOPS, it's running faster, right? This is the logic. A lot of companies that are enterprise companies, a lot of their servers on the back end or storage area networks tend to run off of high IOPS. So you're looking at this is how it's breaking down. That's the math. I'm not really sure what that is, but it's like some little algebra. Here's a benchmark. Read write, you know. This is some more logic. That's the performance. See? So now you're dealing with, it's not how many times it's spinning, but, you know, the higher the IOPS, you know, it's looking at latency, it's looking at all of this type of stuff. If you look at, now I'm running a solid state drive. Now remember before I was complaining about my performance? Remember when I was doing a class, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I was doing a class and the disk percent was like at 70%. And remember we kept having, I'm like, man, this is slow. Now notice the difference.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's the difference.
I remember that.
That's the difference. This is the model A-Data, some bootleg brand I found online for $20. It's a 120 gig hard drive, solid state. That's pretty cheap. I remember now, before them things were around about $300, $400. It's only 120 gigs, but to run my Windows 10, to run my OS, I mean, that's fine. I mean, look at my performance. You know, this is the creme de la creme. I mean, this is like the Rocky Rococo of hard drives for me, you know. So, anyway, going back to my instance, just to kind of show you, they're probably running solid state drives in that data center. Probably huge solid state drives. One drive probably like 15 grand or something. So going back into here, what I like to do, I like to open up. Is it still running? Okay. So I like to open up, not system. I don't remember where it's at. Oh, server manager. Okay. So I open up server manager. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
This is going to take a little while. So in the meantime, I'm going to click on local server. Click off. The nice thing about this stuff, so I always turn off my IE enhanced security configuration. Okay. And while we're letting this wait and run, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just install TeamViewer real quick. The servers get setting up. It's normal. All right. Download. We'll just go ahead and download this. Wait a minute. Oh, no, I don't want Google Play. I don't want that. Gotta watch where you click. Okay, now wait a minute. This is for a tablet. That's not what I want. Okay, am I clicking something wrong? Okay. Let me just go to Windows. All right. Keeps popping stuff up. I'm not registering nothing. No. Direct download. There we go. I'm not registering nothing. I'm lazy. I don't feel like it. All right. Let's go back to the server manager. Let's see if I can pin this to my taskbar. I like keeping this down here. You notice Ethernet. It's not an Ethernet cord, but it's a cloud app. So it's a cloud operating system. So naturally, of course, you know, it's going to act like this is it's a logical system. It's a virtual system. So, you know, you go here under properties, you see that I have, that said DHCP right there, obtaining an automatic IP address. Now, you could change this if you want, but I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to leave that alone, but that's your DHCP. All right, so now, let's see where we at with TeamViewer. Did it download? Okay, let's let it run. Just want to just get that through there real quick. Basic installation. Install. Close. I don't need this anymore. Close all tabs. Okay. Now the first thing I'm going to do, all right, so I'll add this to my taskbar. I'll close it for now. First thing I like to do is, now, this is something I wanted to show you guys. This is one of the exams that I took, and the only reason why I passed is because I had experience and I had been doing it for 2 years. But typically, when I came into the morning for that particular job as a Citrix administrator, if there was like an alert or an email from one of the clients, I would start going into the system logs and just looking at different things if there was something major. Now, one thing I want to show you guys is something that you may not have seen before. But anytime that you see a whole lot of these time services, and if they have something to do with DHCP and it happens a whole lot, usually there could be a problem. This may not be good for in production. You may not want to see that stuff, but real quick, if you click on Find, or there was something here, Filter, under Filter, if you go here and put User 32, why isn't that showing up? I gotta put it here. Click OK. Oh, it must be an integer. Okay, that's not right. Let me see if I could. So critical, warning, information, or error. User 32. You click OK. Now, what that did is that filtered for any log files with the source of user 32. Now, if you look here, you see the time. Now, this looks a little off, so I'm not sure why, but anytime you see this and you double click it and it says something about usually with this code, or that means that there was a shutdown, which there was a reboot. So we had a lot of the servers that the servers we supported for that company, we had scheduled shutdowns or scheduled reboots because they have updates and patching. You know, a lot of people don't like to reboot their computers and they just have a lot of problems with their Microsoft products as opposed to Linux. We would have a scheduled reboot for their servers to start at like 11 o'clock at night. No one's probably going to be on a server around that time. So in the morning, when I see these alerts, I would check to see that this occurred. So whenever you see user 32, you got to learn something new now. So you could go into filter the log, so you ain't got to look through all of them. And then you put in user 32. That's just, you know, it's just a little trick that I learned throughout my way. So I would look at a lot of these logs. A lot of people, they'll give it, oh, I want to be a system administrator. You're going to be looking at logs a lot. You know, if you don't mind, fine. But I'm saying, like, this is the kind of stuff that now you're getting into cybersecurity. Because cybersecurity analysts, they do this all the time. This isn't on the test at all. But, you know, I had to actually, let's say there was something major, like a service that stopped. Okay? I'll show you guys a little bit about that real quick before we get into there. But under services, if you notice, on a server or on a desktop itself, there's all types of services. So certain services may cause other services to have issues. This is the DHCP client. You don't want to mess with that, but you could stop it. You know, then you could look at the recovery, which means that if there's a failure of the service, what does it do automatically? It restarts. If it fails again, it restarts. If it's a subsequent failure, I say take no action. And you could tell it to restart again, or you could tell it to restart the computer. But you probably don't want to do that. But if it keeps failing, if this service keeps failing, then you're probably going to want to go where? You want to go to Tools, and you're going to want to go to Event Viewer, and you want to see why this probably failed under Windows application. Let's say it happened around whenever. Now, some stuff is just benign. You're like, okay, well, it ain't really nothing. But if you have a service that keeps stopping, that probably connects to something else that needs to have communication. We're talking about information technology here, right? The premise that we're making under this logic is that we want information to communicate quickly, efficiently, with integrity, right? So if that's not happening, then that means that something's not talking to each other. If something's not talking to each other, productivity could be going down. That's the theory, right? So this is some of the things that you'd be doing as a system administrator. If you know this ahead of time, now you're going into a position where you'll just have a little bit, you know, help desk ain't going to show you this. What I'm telling you right here, you're probably not going to do that at help desk, because at help desk, they're not going to let you touch it. They just want you to do password resets, and somebody locked themselves out of their phone, you know, even if somebody get a virus, let's say somebody was watching some stuff, you know, they'll send that over to desktop support. Or you might remote into it and you know, run like a little malware bites or something. But 9 times out of 10, that's going to go to desktop support. But there's a lot of different tools. You know, this is a server. This is Server 2016. Everything in here is going to be used in terms of mandating the network and administering the network. So one thing that you might see on the test, it might ask something about roles and features. Now I'm going to add a role and a feature. The first one I'm going to do is I'm just going to click Next. Let's go ahead and click Next. Now, under here, notice that there's a lot of different roles. Now, Active Directory I'll add later, but the first thing I'm going to add is probably going to be one of these two. But you notice there's a lot of different roles. Hyper-V doesn't apply in this situation. Why? Because once again, like I told everybody, you guys should have watched Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio. You can't install a hypervisor on a virtual machine. You can't, we're in the cloud right now. This is a virtual machine, so you can't install a virtual machine within a virtual machine. You can install a virtual machine on a local machine, like my laptop here. If you guys watched the last video, I opened up VirtualBox and then I installed a Linux distribution called Ubuntu with Caesar, and I showed him how to install a virtual machine, which is on my local machine. This is on my local machine. I'll tell you about this job that I'm thinking about messing with. But my virtual machine, I installed VirtualBox. I'll open that back up so you guys can see it probably after a while. What are we looking at for time? 7:30. Okay. So, but anyway, you can install a hypervisor. All that is just a piece of software that allows you to install a virtual machine. You can't install a hypervisor, aka a virtual machine, in a cloud virtual machine. We're remoted into a cloud virtual machine via RDP, which runs on port 3389. Okay, so Hyper-V doesn't apply. Hyper-V is just a nice virtualization software. It's a hypervisor that, let's say I had server 2016 or 2012 or whatever. Let's say I had that operating system installed on my local laptop itself, just as an operating system, just like you installed it on a desktop or whatever. Then we could click this and I could actually install Hyper-V. And Hyper-V will allow me to install other virtual machines. But Hyper-V is not applicable to a cloud virtual machine. And it tells you right here, Hyper-V provides the services that you can use to create and manage virtual machines and their resources. Each VM is a virtualized computer system that operates in an isolated execution environment. This allows you to run multiple operating systems simultaneously. That position that I showed you earlier is probably going to be working on a lot of virtual machines. They're not going to be physical. It's probably going to be one server, similar kind of like to this, and it's probably going to have a bunch of other virtual machines in there because it saves electricity because it's virtual. If something happens to this virtual machine that I'm in right now, like I showed you before, we call cloud virtual machines instances. We can just blow it away and start a new one. Back in the day, you couldn't do that. If something happens to it, you got to do all these backups and all this crap. No, you ain't got to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a DNS. I'm going to add a feature. Now notice, it says no static IP addresses were found. So what it wants me to do is it wants me to go here. Go here. Properties. Here. Properties, and it wants me to change it and give it an IP address, a subnet mask, and a default gateway. Well, the default gateway would be what? The outgoing router to the internet, right? We're not going to do that because I don't want it to kick us off. So what we're going to do is we're just going to continue. Then after that, I'll install the DHCP server. Now let's go next. Let's take a look at this just so you can see what's going on. Now, here, there's a lot of other things you could install. Features that's part of these roles. BitLocker. I might have told you guys about what happened when I was working at Blue Cross. Well, one day I was installing Windows 7 on a bunch of machines. The people that were imaging the machines, they had one image, like, okay, for example, when you're doing image deployment, and Kevin Johnson, he knows this very well, you're not taking a disk or a USB drive all the time and sticking it each time. No, that takes too much time. You get a system architect, and what he does is he takes one copy of Windows 7 or whatever that operating system is. He takes one copy. He packages all the software. He puts encryption on it. He does whatever it needs to be done. And then he has an image. It's called a golden image. Okay? Now, it's not actually a Polaroid picture, but logically, when you think about the concept, it's like a picture. It's saying, all right, I packaged all this software up to where I want to take this and I want to get duplicated through all types of machines. So you may have 100 machines running at the same time, pushing Windows 7 on it. Well, somebody did not build BitLocker into the image. Now, we know that these insurance companies, they have HIPAA laws, okay? You can't have no desktop, especially a laptop, but you can't have no desktop out on the floor that doesn't have encryption software. Do you know what will happen if somebody's information went missing? How much that company going to pay? That's $100,000 each infraction. Okay, let's say you have 30 somebody's files. Oh, somebody had hepatitis B and that got out. Oh my God. Like, the government could shut them down almost. They might come up with $100 million lawsuit behind just that one person. So that's why they installed BitLocker encryption on that image. So I'll ask us a little story for you guys just to see. But there's a lot of different stuff that's on here. You probably don't really need to mess with much. You can. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and just install the DNS server. It might make us reboot. Okay. So we'll let that roll. Everybody knows domain name system, DNS. So instead of having google.com, I showed you guys before in the command line, right? You have google.com as opposed to the IP address, which is long as hell. So we'll let that roll. Then I'll go ahead and give it a DHCP server role as well at some point. Let me see where we're at. Why isn't this closed? Oh, I don't want it to open. We'll go through this too. I'm going to show you guys a little trick that I use. So we'll go ahead and click close. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to tools. I'm going to install another role, or I'm sorry, manage. So add features. Click next, next, next. Notice you see my IP address here, 172.31.23.190. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and install DHCP server. Continue. Continue. Now, this is on exam. This concept. The DHCP protocol allows servers to assign, lease, IP addresses to computers and other devices that are enabled as DHCP client. Deploying a DHCP server on the network provides computers and other TCP/IP based network devices with valid IP addresses and additional configuration parameters. Okay, so basically I'm going to give you a phone number. I'm going to give Kevin a phone number. That's kind of the concept that you're getting. So I'll install this. Now your router already gives a DHCP, your router already has DHCP in it. Your router at home, Comcast, Quest. But with the server here, I could actually mandate and lease IP addresses from Server 2016. Let's say I have a home office or an office at a company, and I got 20 or 30 computers. I could pretty much manage and control those computers. And that's really what Server 2016 is for. It's a server. It's services. You see? Now if you had 1 or 2 computers, you probably not have much of a reason for a server. But if you got a business and you got 15 employees, you might want that. You may not want everybody going on SpongeBob SquarePants at 12 p.m. and when they're supposed to be, it could be anything. So now what we want to do is let's complete the DHCP configuration. We'll click commit, close. All right, so now let's see if there's anything else that I typically add. Now, the next thing I usually like to add, another thing you could do, I just want to tell you. Getting back to that golden image, remember we talked about Kevin's deploying 50 machines that's going to be shipped out to Timbuktu. Or it's going to be shipped out to the North Pole because the polar bears, for some reason, want to watch SpongeBob SquarePants. It sounds ridiculous, I know. But let's just say you're shipping 50 machines out to Antarctica and the North Pole, so these polar bears could watch how to make jerk chicken. What you could do is you could click Windows Deployment Services, and you could actually install an application that allows you to build that Windows 10 golden image or whatever Microsoft image that you're talking about. You got to have your license keys and things of that nature, usually called volume licenses, for how many operating systems per device typically. But you could do that. At one point in time, I was going to have a server for the class so people could see how an image is built with Windows Deployment Services. I might still do that in the future, but I'm not sure. But another thing you could do, you can add, now this is interesting. This is called Network Policy and Access Services. So what this does is you could install a policy, okay, where any hardware such as a laptop or desktop cannot access the network unless its MAC address is allowed. Remember we talked about that DMZ article where there's different layers of defense. They call it defense in depth. So, okay, you might have a company that might serve medical devices, might sell medical devices, or might do services for a medical device company or a hospital. Well, there's laws in place, HIPAA laws, where they say, look, each computer you have has to have BitLocker. Each computer you have has to mandate to a network policy and access, which means you may have to have 5 to 6 different things to prove that you're secure, or when we come through to do an audit, you get failed and you get a big fat fine. So you go from eating from steak and potatoes to eating White Castle. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people come through and they'll look at your computers and be like, all right, you ain't got this, you ain't got that. What's going on? And you're going to have to give them a constructive answer, because once they do their audit, then now you're going to be somewhere down in court, God forbid, on the news, explaining as to why your systems are not secure. You see? So you could actually make a file server. You could make a print server. But anyway, I'll just go ahead and leave it. Hold on, what did I do? There was something in here. There's that SNMP right there. You could do failover clustering. That's at high availability. All right, now what did I want? I didn't want this. How do I get out of here? Okay, go to next. I wanted Active Directory. That's what I want. I want Active Directory domain services as a feature, and I'll click next. And then I want group policy management. I won't worry about none of this other stuff because it'll just confuse you. But see, the MTA certification that I'm showing you guys is the basic network foundation. Everything that I'm showing y'all right here, getting into the nitty gritty, this is what they would test on the MCSA certification. That's the next level up. Now, you have to, all this stuff that I just showed you, everything, you got to know all of this. Every single bit almost, for the most part. What it does, how it's used, just to give you an example. But you would only know it if you were in the environment enough to be able to configure it. But this is when you're getting heavy, right here. All right, and if you get 4 of these, because there's several different domains. See, I just want to just show you what it looks like. In order to get the suite, that MCSE, you have to pass installation and storage and compute of Server 2016. It's a real good one to have. You have to pass networking with Server 2016, and you have to pass identity with Server 2016. So now you're dealing with, remember, PKI, Active Directory Federation Services, Domain Services. It's 3 heavy exams, and they're real heavy. It's extremely hard. Once you get all of this, then you'll be MCSE, I believe. But if you get either one, you're still going to be Microsoft certified. It doesn't matter. Some people like to get all of these or whatever. I mean, me, I would get either this one or that one. Especially this one. If you get this one, this will really be a star stutter on a resume, because now you're dealing with networking, Hyper-V, Branchcast, distributed file system right here. It covers DNS, DHCP, EPOM implementations, VPN, direct access. This is heavy. But like I said, it's only a $125 course or exam. But like I said, this is the type of thing that when you're working at an employer for a while, you say, I want my MCSA, and then they could give you, because the guys that I worked with at that virtualization company, they all got these. Piece of cake for them, but they've been doing it 15 years. You see? But anyway, so we'll go to close. Now I want to show you guys the bread and butter. Now here's another thing that you got to do, because we're talking about the domain. You have to promote this server to a domain controller. The domain is the home, right? You guys all should know what a domain is by now. The domain controller is the server. So now what you do, because we're dealing with a domain, and they're going to be talking about forests and trees, we want to add a new forest. We don't want to add a domain controller to an existing domain. We don't have a domain. So let's just add a new forest and call the root domain name SpongeBob. Next, okay, this failed. Why? Okay, SpongeBob didn't work. Let's call SpongeBob.com. You got to name it .com, okay, because it's a domain. Now, this goes back into that forest functional level and domain functional level, okay? The functional level, we're saying, can this server function? At what level? You might have somebody that has server 2012, which is considered to be a little old, or God forbid, you have server 2008. If you have server 2008, it could communicate with 2016, but it's so damn old, it's kind of like, a lot of companies still got that. They shouldn't have it, but they do. So it's thinking right now, setting it up. I leave the functional levels alone. But deep down, when you go down in your career, you might have a job where you have to migrate a company from server 2008 to 2016. Well, to my knowledge, don't quote me on this, but I think you have to upgrade from 2008 to 2012, then go from 2012 to 2016. You can't get shoot from 2008 to 2016. That's like
You do have to upgrade step by step. You can't just upgrade like that.
Now, 2012, I believe you could jump from 2012 to 2016, but from 2008 to 2016, that's a full upgrade. You gotta upgrade completely. It's almost like, it's like the concept of somebody coming to you, right? And they're at the level 1 help desk, and they like, well, man, I just started a level 1 help desk, but I want to go buy a Bentley. And you like, okay, you ain't got to the Benz yet, like. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you want to sleep in it, fine. I mean, if you want to sleep, no, I want a Bentley. Well, you might want to mess with a Toyota first.
Funny.
You might want to mess with a Toyota first.
Right.
I'm just saying, be realistic. Unless of course you got a level 1 help desk and you work that, and then you work another level 1 help desk at the time. I mean, you're probably gonna be sleeping in that Bentley if you could afford it. 9 times out of 10, they're not even gonna give it to you because they're gonna be like, well, how much do you make? Right. Well, I make $2,000 a month. No, you need to make $10,000. So that's the kind of analogy I like to use. But anyway, you want to keep this the same, global catalog. Now we got to give it a password. So I'm going to give it a kind of a hard password just so it'll take it. If I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'll say no. It'll give you something like this. Something about complexity requirements. See? It wants you to do the following. Strong passwords, a combination of uppercase and lowercase letters. Now, I'll show you some of this too. But anyway, what we'll do, we'll give it a strong password. Now, Gabby, you should be listening up on this one because you requested this for tonight. All right. So I gave it the password. I won't mess with this. Leave it alone. Let it roll. All right. We'll let that roll for a little bit. But see, there's all different types of things that you could do with AWS Amazon services. I don't really go too much deeper. But there's a lot of different things I think you could take snapshots. I don't really mess with that too much. If you look under here, they got things such as security groups. I don't bother that. Elastic IPs, key pairs. That was all my old key pairs that I had. Launch auto scaling groups, all of that. They even got some stuff. Let me see here. Network interfaces. I don't really bother that stuff because I don't know what it does yet, and I don't really have a lot of time to go through it. But if anybody was considered, going into this, they say this is probably the best one. But the AWS Certified Solutions Architect is probably the best entry level AWS. It's $150, 130 minutes to complete. It's associate position or associate exam. This is probably where you want to start. And like I said, you want to go through all of this and learn exactly what this is. Matter of fact, they got something called Amazon Tech Talks that you guys should be looking at if that's what you're considered in doing. But it's called let me look up AWS real quick. And they have free stuff. Now take heed, this ain't gonna be free forever.
Right.
Where is it at? It was some type of Amazon Tech Talk. Maybe I probably deleted it. I don't know what I'll find it next time it comes up. Too many emails. All right, where are we at now? Okay, SpongeBob. Next, the NetBIOS domain name. Just let it just roll. All right, now don't mess with none of this. You will screw something up big time if you don't know what you're doing. These are the database and sysvol files. Don't even touch it. Somebody send me an email. I wouldn't even bother. Just click next, next, and now it's verifies in the prerequisites for a domain controller operation. Can minimize this for now. Okay. See where we at. See if I'm staying on task. What did I do with that? Notice I use Google Drive a lot. Let's see where this is at. Is it still rolling? I think it's still. Thought I could already promote it. Maybe it's still rolling. Let's let it roll. One thing I wanted to talk about. I think I talked about service level agreement before, but basically, a company will have a agreement with a company that'll say, I have to provide these services, your systems have to be working, your network has to be on point, whatever it is within that agreement. So if you're working at a managed service company, they may say, well, this person has to respond, or this company has to respond under our service level agreement. You have to respond to this ticket, depending on what level it is. Oh, it's a level 1, oh, you got to respond within 30 minutes. Oh, it's a level 2, you got to respond within 2 hours. It's a level 3 password reset, you have to respond within 4 hours, whatever the case it may be. My recommendation for wireless characteristics is just to know, the difference between the cables. Cat 5, Cat 6 and stuff, that might be on the exam. Let me look at these exam tips and go through these real quick. If I can find them. But let's look and see, is this still going? I don't know, what's it doing? I thought I already said promote. Maybe it's still thinking. Let's let it think for a minute. Now link local, that's going to be on the exam. So link local addresses for IPv4, that's defined in the address block. Link local addresses will start with 169, so you might see that on the exam. What else? Somebody, and for real, like y'all should be on Slack heavy, real heavy, because that's where we put all our stuff. Exam tips. I had some exam tips somewhere. Let me see if I can find them. It's at tops. We had some people write some exam tips. All right, now this is some exam tips that one of the students that came in and passed in 2 weeks. I post that on Slack so y'all can read this. This is by Paul. Okay, and then I'm going to find out there's some other exam tips for exam prep tips. That Angelina had. Let me see. I think Will wrote these. I'm trying to find them. Let me see. Just give me a second, because Will, that's another person that, and this is a Python study plan, but he wrote some exam tips as well. Maybe I'll just look under tips in Slack. Clear. I'm trying to find. I'll find it and post it. But that's some of the exam tips. And this is important notes where Paul was basically saying that the test questions will vary. It'll always be 30 to 50 questions. It was 32 for me. It was 30 for me too, so I don't know why they said 50. And basically the test breaks down all of these areas that's said in the book and under the objective domain I gave you guys. And then look at this as the breakdown as well. Go to this site. But he's telling you all the things that you should be looking at as well. So let me just go back here and figure out what's going on. Why is this taking so long? It's saying configuration required. I think it wants a reboot. Yeah, I think it wants a reboot. Let's just reboot real quick and see what's happening. Most of the time it wants you to reboot. So I'll restart it real quick. Kamisha, anybody still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. I think Kamisha said she left.
Okay. Yeah, I'm watching the whole thing and stuff, hearing everything and stuff. So,
okay.
Because I mean, sometime next year, I'm going to try to get a certification for the AWS. I want to get my A+ network stuff right now first. Well, actually, my network stuff first and the A+, because I'm for that so far. A+ is AWS, Azure, as well as cloud-based services. Are going to be used a lot in the future. So as well, especially automation really starts hitting pretty hard here in the next few years.
Yeah. AWS is probably the best route. I mean, I think, me personally, if you really want to take your career to the next level, I say go to AWS. I mean, if you just want to have a DoD certified certification, gets to have A+, gets to always help you get a desktop role to just keep you at work all the time, then yeah. But I'd be focusing on this more than anything, because this is what's going to make you the most marketable. AWS is going to keep you in that desktop role. Or not AWS, A+ is going to keep you in that desktop role. AWS is going to take you to the next level. So, you know, especially if you could have the employer pay for A+, and AWS even better. You know, the AWS Solutions Architect. I'm going to jump back in here, and after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about Salesforce. But let me see if I can get back in here real quick.
Okay.
It's probably still rebooting, so I'll just cancel it. I'm going to let it reboot, and I'm just going to talk to everybody a little bit about Salesforce Trailhead. Salesforce positions pay a whole lot, and I think that everybody should consider signing up and getting a free account. And for Salesforce, Salesforce is a CRM system which most companies use, and the best certification for Salesforce, it's not super technical, but you see the sister here, she is a Salesforce administrator. If you click here, she starts talking about what is a Salesforce administrator and what they do. And you know, you see this sister's probably making around about this much.
Damn,
it's $95K.
6 figures. Damn.
Yeah, a lot of these people, they're not coming in with 10 years of experience. They're coming through this Trailhead thing and getting like a level 1 position. My next book that I'm writing is going to be talking a lot about how to get into this Salesforce game. But this is kind of the business skills that you got to have for this. Salesforce developers, they really make a lot. You know, I mean, this is average. You see what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of jobs for this stuff, but you probably will start coming in around about this. Now, this is probably not what you're going to make, but what I'm saying is if you could start and get like a junior Salesforce role for 55, after about 2-3 years, I mean, this is a reality. After about 3 years, this is a reality to be making that. You got to be really good, but what I always tell people is you want to just get, you know, sign up through your Google account and then start learning the trails. The first thing I say is do admin beginner. Add this as a favorite. And then after that, go to admin, I think intermediate right here. Then after that, go to admin advanced. And when you're done with that, one thing I like about Salesforce is if you can't figure something out, you could always ask the community or you could look it up. And they're like the Linux community. They're very, very helpful. They have these conferences in San Francisco at least once a year. You know, this is like kind of the gold rush as far as I'm concerned. Like a lot of people don't know about this, and it don't cost you a dime, you know. But admin beginner, it's only an 8-hour course. You'll know more than you ever did before. It tells you about the platform, data modeling, data management, lightning experience customization, mobile app customization, building reports and dashboards. I had an opportunity, and I always tell myself that I regret it. I had an opportunity to get into a business analyst position in Salesforce when I was in my 20s. Now, I scoffed at it. Oh, it's not technical enough. I don't want no business analyst position. That's how I was thinking. Very small-minded, very non-constructively. I want to kick myself in the ass because of that. Because right now, I'd probably be around where that range is, if not more, 9 times out of 10. But I didn't want to do it because I was being closed-minded. I said, oh, no, I want to deal with hardware and stuff. So now, for the next couple of years, I was lugging around hardware, not really getting paid nothing. If I would have took that Salesforce position, it was just a junior position. It was a contract. It was 6 months. If I would have took that position, my career would have been completely different by now. Completely different. I'd own a home. I'd have property. I'd probably have like a farm or something. You know, I mean, I would have a lot of stuff will be out of the way if I would have did that. But I didn't want to do it. So now they didn't have Trailhead at that time. You know, I was just working on migrations and stuff like that. But I had an opportunity to become a Salesforce BA. It was an entry-level position, kind of a support/BA kind of position. But I didn't know what a BA was. I said, oh, I got to be up here on all these business meetings, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do that. And I paid the price. So I always recommend people to consider that. Let's try to open up this RDP again. Connect. It's going to let me in. Control V for my password. Okay, now we're back in. Something happened here. Maybe my password wasn't right. So let's make sure we check it. Yep. All right. Let's go ahead and roll back in. It's going to restart. And then real quick, actually I don't got to go there, but we'll go into the server manager. Okay. We'll let that start. And this is where all the magic is. This is where I'll show you guys some of the roles that I installed. Once again, this is not on the test, but if you know how to do this, and this is something you've done, you could put this on your resume. Added roles, added DHCP, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you know what it is. You know what it does. You may not know how to necessarily fix it. That's what Google's for. But you know what it is, you know what it does, and you know how to install it. You can put that on your resume. And then you can send the resume back to our board members, and they can look at it and say, hey, look, you need to change this and reword this. And then send it back again for a review. Let me try to open it up again. I don't know what's going on. It's taking a little while. All right. Okay, it's just installing. What else could I cover real quick? In the meantime, I'll tell everybody we cover the exams when everybody's ready. You can take the exam. You got to pay the proctor fee for the exam. There's a proctor fee. There's a company that you need to go take the exam. That doesn't have anything to do with us. They charge their own fee. It's only $40. But we buy the exam, and we're probably going to buy you an exam with a retake. Now, you want to go here, and I'll cover this again. You want to go to Bravura Training, okay? And, okay, so you want to go to Bravura Training, bravuraservices.com. Don't call them. It's a waste of your time. I've tried it 1,000 times. Don't even bother. Click Schedule Exam. Now, what you want to do, we already going to cover the exam. So what you want to do is, I say schedule exam. Some people like to do St. Louis Park, some people in Roseville. I like Roseville, so I'll click Roseville, and they're always open Saturdays for some reason. So I always pick the 10:30 exam. What you want to do is you want to click this here, put in your email, put in your name. I don't even really mess with that part right there. What exam are you taking? I say MTA. Register the exam? No, because you don't want to pay for the exam there. You can say no. You can purchase your voucher there? No. You want a proctor fee, $45. Oh, they done raised it up. And then you click submit. What's going to happen is they're going to send you an email with an invoice. Pay it right away. And you can show up early at your exam at this location. And I say show up early. Okay? But that's what you want to do to register for the proctor. Okay, now what you want to do once you're ready for your exam, you got to have an examination account. So I'm just going to show you guys an example. So when you want to log in, what you want to do, you want to create an account under register right here. So you go to certiport.com, you follow it. It's going to say what country you're in. You put all these little funny numbers and all that, and then you follow from there. You give your personal information, blah, blah, blah. But I'll show you what it looks like for me. I'm going to log in as if I've, so I log in. I'm a test candidate. What's going to happen is I'm going to give you a voucher code. You're going to copy and paste that in here. Now, what it's going to look like, now I'm an administrator, so you're going to see if we have any other vouchers left. There might be one left. Look, okay, so there's one left right now. Anybody that wants to take an exam right now, There's one left. Right? I mean, right now, for now, we'll buy some more. But if anybody wants to take it, let me know. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to vouchers. Now, you won't see this because you're not an administrator. But what's going to happen is anybody that's interested, this is the MTA voucher. And these are all the people that took the exam. Paul took the exam, passed. Angelina took the exam, passed. Jose took the exam and passed. This is one voucher left. What's going to happen is I'm just going to grab this voucher and I'm going to email it to you. Now, I believe that this is a retake. So if you don't pass, you could go back. Now, you got to pay the proctor fee again. But what I'm saying is these are like $100 vouchers or so. We're giving you an opportunity where if you don't pass the first time, you should pass the first time. But if you don't pass, you have to take it within 1 month. I say go back within 2 weeks so where the information is fresh. Don't wait. But you have to take it within 30 days. Okay? So at Certiport.com, you have to sign up and you have to register an account. Now, before you do your voucher, that's what I want you to do. Before I give you the voucher, I want you to register for Certiport and confirm with me. Right? But, you know, I'm not going to give out vouchers until I see that you guys register with Certiport and register with Bravera. Then I'm going to give you the voucher. You know, because I don't, you know, it's not that I don't think people are going to take it, but we've had way, way, way too many times where we gave people vouchers and they didn't use it, and another brother or sister could have used it. We don't want that. So when you register on both Certiport and you register for your Bravera services, then I will give out the voucher. So going back in here under local server in RDP, I thought I already promoted this. Why is it doing this? That's crazy. It's asking me to promote it. Wait a minute. Okay, let's look at this real quick. Because for some reason it thinks my memory's low. What? Let's go to system and let's see if we're even on a domain. It's still considered to be a work group. Okay, so no, it's not considered to be a domain. It didn't get promoted to be a domain controller for some reason. So let's try it again. So I'm going to add a new forest. I'm just going to call it domain.com. I don't know why that happened, you guys. Sometimes there's little quirks. Okay, so we'll let that roll. Because what happens, getting back to the exam, if you don't pass the exam, it's going to give you another voucher code. And it's going to give you an example on, it's going to tell you what you didn't pass well. For example, like if I go back here, we'll let that server roll real quick. For some reason, it's not acting up. It's not working right. But you want to log in. If you notice here, these are all the exams I passed. You know, initially I tried to take the MTA 98349. It was like an operating system exam. I failed. I got 57 out of like 100 or whatever it is. The first time I took my network certification was October 10th. I got 60. Okay. Now if you go here, you see it'll break down how well I did. Under protocols and services, I got 61. Network hardware, I did pretty good, but this is what killed me. Network infrastructure, 45. But then I went back the next week. Don't wait. Take it ASAP. Don't wait. A lot of people, they'll be like, well, I'll take it in a month. No. Take it ASAP. Go back, study, see where you know, and the next time you notice, I got the high 70s. I went back and studied because it's going to tell you where you're lacking at. I was lacking right here, and I was lacking here. But then when I went back, I knocked it out. High 70s. Okay. Then I went 2 years later and I took my server administration fundamentals. That's the stuff I'm showing you, those little log files and everything with the server. I didn't study for this at all. The reason why I took this is we gave out a bunch of vouchers to some people and they wouldn't go take the exam. So I said, well, hell, it's about to expire. Let me go take it. And you see where I was lacking. Server roles, the thing I'm showing you now, I didn't do very well right there. But I didn't do very well with server maintenance. But what saved me was 100% in performance management. I'm kind of okay with storage, good with Active Directory, 100% server installation. Now, if I would have had any less than that, I may not have passed. But I went in there and I knocked it out in like 10, 15 minutes, all 30 questions, because it got to a point where I started remembering all this type of stuff. All the stuff I did working at the server virtualization company, which was kind of a life changer for me because it put me in an upper echelon in my career. So I, messing with the tools and Active Directory, adding roles. See, it's asking you questions about adding roles and stuff like that for the server administration. Now, I don't teach that class, but this exam is a good exam to have on the resume as basic foundational server administration fundamentals. You guys should actually buy that book when you're done with this class. It's a book. It's like from the same author that made the networking book. Excellent book. Beautiful book. If you want to take the exam, fine. But I could cover it. I probably won't. Because a lot of the server stuff that I show you guys, it's mainly network-based. Network-based stuff, but I can show it to you just so you can see it. You're getting a lot more. Yeah, it's still trying to, I don't know what it's doing here. Configuration for Active Directory domain services required. So what is it asking me here? I don't know what it's asking. Okay, refreshing servers. I don't know. Let me go in here and see what's happening. I'm going to open up Active Directory. Or no, I'll open up Group Policy Management for y'all real quick. You must log on to the computer with a domain user account. For some reason, that's not working. I might have to mess with this a little bit through the week and see what's going on, see why it ain't working. But that's AWS for you in a nutshell, installing Server 2016 and then adding DHCP roles, adding DNS roles. I think what I'm going to do is spend a little time on this. Maybe at work tomorrow, I might log in and see exactly what's going on and try to play around with it a little bit. For some reason, it's not working right, and I don't know why. But I think for tonight, I'm just going to go ahead and shut Server 2016 down. And then I think I'll play around with it tomorrow in the morning and see exactly what happens. So I'm not going to use it through the night, so I'm just going to click on instances. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click stop. Because I don't need this to run overnight. I can just start it up. I can just right-click and click start. And then what I could do is I could open up my RDP file. But I could get that at work. I'll try to remember what my password is. So if anybody has any questions, email me. This will be recorded. I'm going to upload this as soon as I get off the line with Kevin. And I employ everybody to look on Slack and look how I installed it initially, because I did actually install it before. Let me see. If you type in AWS, here it is. This is the AWS lab video right here. And then here's another lab video. If you type in AWS under search, you'll see all of this different stuff where I have tutorials and things of that nature. But this is the AWS lab video. Okay. And I'll post it on Slack another time. This is the last time I post it on Slack. It's already been posted on Slack, but I've got requests asking about it. Make sure you subscribe so you'll get, all my new videos when they come out. But I'll post this on Slack. It's already on Slack. There you go. This is how to do it. The same thing I did tonight. How to install AWS. I highly recommend everybody to really strongly consider getting heavily involved in AWS after this class. Start going. They used to have an AWS meeting at least like once a month downtown Minneapolis, where you learn what AWS solutions architects and AWS engineers and you can learn a lot going to those. Like I said before, everybody should consider going to the Code Switch conference this weekend. Let me pull this up. Code Switch 2019. All right. Is this it? No, that's not it. Code Switch registration, September 21st. So that'll be Saturday, this Saturday, from 8 a.m. It's only $10. I highly recommend you guys to show up. It's $10. You know, you'll be able to make a lot of different connections there. It's a good, you know, fruitful place to be there. They'll have food for you. You ain't gonna starve. You'll learn some things. I think next week what we're gonna do is all of the stuff with TeamViewer, AWS, any of the stuff that you guys been playing with, command line, whatever. Start adding this stuff to your resume now. And then what we could do is we could send those resumes. First, revise your resume. Revise your resume based on what Kenny and Yoni have recommended. I've already forwarded everybody their emails, and I read it off in this video, okay? So revise your resume. Try to make it look clean. Send them back to me after you're done. Try to get these back to me by Sunday night. It'll only take 10 minutes of your time, okay? And then next, we'll cover looking at those resumes, and we'll answer any questions that people may have on the command line. IP config, tracer, path ping, netstat. If anybody has not read chapter 14, read it. And y'all might as well just try to go ahead and knock out that book. We only got a couple more classes. If anybody has any questions, email me, and I'll get back to you ASAP. So I'm signing out. Thanks for everybody that has showed up tonight. Big shout outs to Kevin Johnson and Kamisha for landing a position. And I will see you guys next week.
All right, see you next week. Have a good night.
All right. And one more question. It looks like Caesar had a question about any suggested VPN or antivirus protection software. I was going to cover this next week, but for VPN, TunnelBear. TunnelBear is a VPN that you may want to consider. As far as the antivirus, I say try McAfee. I wonder if Avast is still in the game. I didn't like Avast back in the day because they used to delete some of my little Microsoft Word files, but it looks Avast is still in the game. They have a free antivirus protection, and I believe they have a VPN as well, Caesar. So if you're listening right now, tunnelbear.com. I was going to cover that next week. We all know that VPN deals with IPsec and L2TP, which is layer 2 tunneling protocol. Go to tunnelbear.com and also go to avast.com and get your free antivirus protection. For anybody that you know that's looking to get into the game IT, have them email me or go to www.beingblackandit.com if they want to purchase a copy of the book to help them get into the game. So, all right, y'all, take care.
All right, have a good night.
All right, take care, man. Hello? I think I lost the recording, you guys, so I'm going to try to see if I can't jump back in and see what happened to the last one, because I don't know why I didn't record it.
Kevin.
Hello, Kevin?
Yeah, did something happen with the recording or something? What happened?
Yeah, I think what I did is I left the meeting instead of ending the meeting. So when I end the meeting, I don't know if it recorded everything. You know, I'm not exactly sure, which is unfortunate. So I'm gonna try to end this meeting real quick, man, and I'll see what happened. I don't know why I didn't get that, because I thought I had it all recorded. But if I didn't, I won't really worry about it too much, because whoever didn't come, you know, they either didn't tell me they weren't coming, or, you know, they had some other obligations. So they'll just have to what they'll do is they'll just have to just catch up with everybody else. And I think that's how we'll do that.
Okay, yeah, I would say just put everything you cover and stuff, everything just in the email and stuff, and send out to everybody and stuff. And plus, let them know so far the stuff you cover so far, even the sources and things, stuff is all on Slack. That should really be helpful out to people. Also for that meeting and stuff as well too. I think you like call like Code Switch. I forgot where it's located. It's located where is it located again? Like is it
St.
down?
Paul? St. Paul.
I knew it was St. Paul. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that's on a Saturday. Is correct?
Saturday. Yep, Saturday. Yeah. I posted that on Slack as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean that'd be cool. I'm gonna show up to that one and stuff, man. Because I wonder if people get to connect with that one as well. Because yeah, because like 2 hours ago or stuff, A3 gave me a call back and stuff saying that, because I was constantly bugging them about stuff like, hey, where can I get a start date? About working at the U.S. Bank and stuff, and downtown St. Paul. They said they got the front, the manager stuff, everything and stuff, and they got the background check, everything got finished, because they were still waiting on some fingerprint stuff to get done. Because I had to do some type of electronic fingerprint stuff through G4S, through a place called First Advantage, and that does background checks. And
okay, yeah, I think I went through them before. I forgot to do one thing called tree size, but I guess let me see, I'll throw that on next week.
Probably just put it in your notes so far, but you could be to get it done for next week or something.
Yeah, because you know, like for the thing about the video is for people that didn't show up, but ultimately to get to maximize the most out of the class, you're going to want to show up. So if you don't show up, you know, I mean, at one point in time, we actually thought about, you know, making it a snooze you lose situation. Like I remember I used to have situations where people, they wouldn't tell me anything. They just wouldn't show up at all. And they're like, well, what happened? And back when I used to have to be at the, you know, it wasn't recorded before I was doing stuff that was online. You know, if you snooze, you lose. If you don't show up, you don't, you know, and I used to have information. I used to have, like, goodies. Like, I used to have information. I used to have, like, you know, jobs or whatever the case it may be. But if people don't show up, I'm like, well, you know, they just miss out. And they just got to catch up with anybody else, you know. But now that it's online on the video, you could go back through the video. So let me go ahead and get off here, man, and try to figure out what happened, man. I'm hoping I could get this video up. If not, like you said, I'm just going to put a quick summary up. And then we'll just go ahead and keep it moving.
Oh, okay. All right, man.
All right, take care, man.
Yep, you too.
Thanks, bye.